Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the next episode of my project. Now, today is not going to be much different from the previous few episodes. Mostly still just tearing everything off. I believe the next episode is, one of the next episodes coming that shouldn't be too long from now, is going to be of us actually tearing off, or actually doing our timing chain replacement. So that way there will be a little bit of a change of pace from just us tearing everything apart, just so that we get a little bit of a different content going. So starting off here, we're taking off the AC condenser. Now, there was a specific way that we could do this without actually having to depressurize the entire system, which is what we ended up doing, because it's very expensive to repressurize an AC system. So we just decided to go with the route of just disassembling the front end of the car without having to depressurize the AC system, which actually worked out pretty nicely. It did turn out pretty well, and it didn't really give us any issues with doing that. So you can just see we're over there taking off the main bracket for the hoses that are going into the condenser. That's what it's called. So there we just took out the windshield washer fluid, not overflow, but tank. There was still a little bit of liquid left in it, so we just had to drain that out real quick before we continued on. And we had to take it off so that we could actually access one of the bolts that was holding on the bracket that holds on the tubes running to the AC condenser. So overall, this didn't really take us too much time. It maybe took us like a couple of hours or something like that, which when you're working on cars, when it takes a couple hours, you're usually doing pretty good, depending on what it is. Sometimes things go really short, like in smooth, and it's great, but other times things take a while. And unfortunately for us, every time you need to do an oil change, you actually have to take off the windshield washer fluid reservoir or the coolant overflow because of the way the car is designed. I swear, the BMW engineers, I want to punch them in the face every time I look at something like that, and it just drives me insane. So this is just us trying to figure out how to actually take off the AC condenser, like, because it was held on a little bit wonkily. So you can see it there. We just left it there. There wasn't really anywhere we could put it besides right there because of the way we were doing it. So next up, we had to take off the coolant overflow and get all the hoses disconnected from that, and then we had to disconnect all the hoses for the radiator. There we are. Took out the coolant overflow, which was relatively painless to do. Besides, there were a couple of hoses going to it, which took a little bit of effort to get off. But hose clamps, not that big of a deal. They're usually pretty easy to handle. So right now we're just undoing the hoses for the radiator. Again, didn't really take too much effort. This is probably one of the more painless jobs we had to do out of that entire thing. So we actually have this special hose clamp tool, which is kind of like a vice grip, except for hose clamps. It has a special locking feature so that it pinches down onto the hose clamp, and then it will lock itself in place, and it makes it relatively painless to do that. And it makes it really easy to just disassemble things where you're using a lot of hoses. It works on big hoses, small hoses, all the hoses. So one thing that was interesting that we found in the front there were some little flaps that were behind the radiator, and we figured that what those were that they open up when you're going fast so that the engine can obviously cool down. But say for example in the winter time, when you want your engine to be or when you want the interior of the car to be nice and warm while you're idling or whatever like that, those actually stay closed so that it lets the engine warm up a little bit more to keep some of the warm air in. So that's what we figured those were. Don't know if that's actually the case, but that was our theory. So now we're just removing the hoses for the intercooler. I was sitting in the way there, but yeah. So taking off the intercooler was probably one of the easier parts. I mean, it did involve getting underneath the car, but it wasn't too hard to do. Yeah. So we're actually thinking of getting another intercooler, but we haven't done that yet. But anyways, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and comment down below anything you'd like to say about the car, or any suggestions for names or anything like that. Do want to hear them. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye!